Welcome. Today we want to talk about some more aspects of the halls of Amenti and kind of dive deeper into some of the work that's being done there. When I first started traveling to the halls of Amenti and holding space in the great portal, I realized that sometimes I was holding a sword in my hand up above my head, and it's a blue flame sword, and it's a magical sword, and I didn't know. He's taken some kind of backtracking and some research to fully understand what the significance of this sword is. It can be equated to also energetically, I think, the staff of Amenti and what that represents. And for me, the greatest clue to what this sword meant to me and the energy that I was holding came through the Lord of the Rings, and I realized it was very equivalent in energy to the sword of Narsil, which Aragorn wielded. And it was a matter of him consciously accepting that responsibility and reclaiming his birthright. And I think that's what this energy symbolizes for all of us. The sword comes to those who really do not wish to possess it. Aragorn certainly did not. He was very hesitant in taking on the responsibility of what that sword meant to him. He was warned and held back in his knowing of how it had been misused in the past by people of his line. And at this point, the sword will not present itself to those who are going to use it for their own power and misaligned intentions. So the sword will only present itself to be aligned with divine will at all times, and this is what it represents. So when I hold this sword, it is almost also a completion of polarities. This sword represents the masculine to me, and it completes my feminine. So in essence, it is the energy that is drawing into complete polarity, alignment, and wholeness and completeness. And in that fact, it is just a tool. We all have within us the masculine and the feminine. But it's kind of just bringing that into more harmonic balance and in consciousness. So I noticed that when I held this sword, that soul sparks would start coming out and dance around and actually gravitate to this energy of this of me holding this sword and find release in the great portal. And we have to understand what Thoth was saying about the halls of Amenti being the halls of the living and the dead. This is kind of a hard concept for us to grasp, and it was hard for me to grasp because I am a being of life, and it's hard to focus on death and the concept of death. I mean, I think we've all come to terms with it to some extent, in that we accept it and we almost we see the beauty in it, as well as the lower sides of it. We see that it is a transformation and a transition, that this illusion of death itself is just that, and we know that it's a time of moving on, and that it is all part of the experience. And I think that's awesome, but it also makes us kind of get to a level of acceptance with death, that this karmic death cycle and the incarnation grid is something that is natural, when it really isn't. We really don't have to keep participating in this at the level that we have been. We don't have to keep coming back to resolve all of these karmic issues. The karmic debt cycle was something that we created by our beliefs and our judgments, and we have bound ourselves and each other to this by holding on to a lot of blame and shame, and all of our guilt keeps us coming back to resolve these things. And it's my belief that we can heal these in this lifetime. I think it's time for forgiveness. The forgiveness that starts from within, forgiveness of ourselves, and allowing ourselves, seeing the face of God in every one that we meet, and seeing through all of the shadows to their true essence, and loving and forgiving and absolving them of any further debt to us and us to them. So it is an active role that we are playing in our daily lives, of breaking these karmic ties and healing ourselves and the world as we do it. The incarnation grid was and has always been our creation and our choice. I say it's time to make a different choice that if we want to be free of it, we've always had the power to free ourselves, and that we can actively remember that now and start making the changes so that over time, and once this plays out in the physical, it will take time for it to manifest and generations for it to manifest through. But as we do that, the vibration of earth increases because the level of souls incarnating increases, and we can do that much more easily. It starts a chain reaction, and it grows into a bigger and bigger wave. So the soul sparks in Amenti, I mean, not only are they our records and parts and pieces of ourselves that we call back into knowingness and integration and accepting them. Just because soul sparks are there doesn't mean that the soul is experiencing there. Amenti is not a place really of soul further experience. There are other realms that a soul will then go to, dependent on, their beliefs, their judgments, their state of resonation at the time that they passed on. But the essence is there, and the soul spark is there. So I noticed in holding the sword that the soul sparks were coming and gravitating to me. I mean, not only my own soul sparks, but the soul sparks of others. And there was just a beautiful moment that, I was holding this space, and Death himself appeared right in front of me. I was like, oh, well, it's he is a formidable character, and he is just another soul who has agreed to do a job. Who gave him this job? Well, in essence, we did. We permissioned this. We gave him the authority to do this on our behalf. And when we reclaim our soul sparks, he has to answer our command and release them back to us. And we can reclaim ourselves free from death ever again in this place as well. So I'm just standing there with Death in front of me, and it was the most beautiful thing. He took my hand, and he took my other hand, and we danced. And we danced around in this portal, and it was such a relief for him, I think, as well as for me. And we can all visit the halls of Amenti and have our own dance with death, and everything is released at that point in time. So we can see how the sword plays out in The Lord of the Rings, and Aragorn took this sword to the city of the dead, and he called upon them. He called upon all of the souls who were left in fulfillment to come and fulfill their destiny. And this is how it feels with all of our incarnations. It's not that they have they are bad or evil or anything. They are souls who have tried their best, but yet were unsuccessful in the mission. And the mission has always been to wake up and remember ourselves, reclaim ourselves, and claim our freedom. And up until this point, we have all been unsuccessful at this. But it has been for a purpose, that we can evolve and grow and expand and come to this point where we can all reintegrate. So this is they are all us. They are all on the side of liberation for Earth. It has always been the mission, and we get to give them the opportunity to fulfill that mission. And what a game changer that was in The Lord of the Rings, when Aragorn called upon all the souls to help out in the liberation for humanity. I'm not saying that all of the ghosts of the past are going to rush out and magically banish shadow from and illusions from the face of the earth. It doesn't work like that. But the energy released, the loving release, the acceptance, the reintegration, the coming together, reuniting this power is the thing that is key and important here. And we can do this consciously. This is an energetic tipping of the scales when we can go in and absolve all of those souls as part of the love experience and experiment that Earth itself has been, and reintegrate them. One thing to kind of understand is there are souls here, soul sparks stored in Amenti that are of those who have been lost out of dimension and out of time itself. In our history, there have been, we'll call them temporal wars or time wars, and this is created and uncreated at specific times, and some of these souls have, they kind of get left out of the loop at that point in time. So Earth saves and protects their record, just like she has for all of us in her heart space. But this is the way we call those souls back into unity and alignment with us, and give them the chance to reconnect with their soul family, and if so necessary, rejoin the incarnation grid so that they can come back through, reconnect, and find their liberation from the here and now of the physical plane. So we get to call them back as well and release them back into, call them back into the incarnation grid. So these are some big some little things that we can do, just holding this space in the portal, that have a huge, tremendous etheric and morphic impact at this point in time, that just keeps expanding this bubble of creation in back all into unity, into the heart of Earth itself. So that's what the sword means to me, and it has the ultimate power to unite in love and harmony, in liberation and abundance for all. So if the sword or the staff or any other, manifestation of a tool of power comes to you, it is your connection to divine will and the heart of Earth that is the actual power behind this, and it is a co-creation together, and it's just one of my favorite things to do, to hold this sword and make the call to unity for all souls, to unite and come into unity in the heart of Earth, and creating the new Earth that just awaits our conscious interaction to manifest. Thank you all for joining me, and more on Amenti to come.